Okay, so part two about fighting, real fights and movie fights. Alright, so for movie fights, I want to personally give out a shout out to CLS and J Diz because they've been with me from the beginning, and y'all can go follow them on Drinking Plate. Alright, I don't really know exactly what that does, but go follow them. They got some good shit over there. They also have their own other pages, so go follow them. Follow them tightly. You might learn some stuff. Now back to the fighting, real life and movies. We're specifically only doing movies for both of these videos because the movies that I've been in, that I've made, I haven't gotten my big break or a break at all. But the thing about doing martial art movies is that they don't really die. They fade away a little bit, but they don't necessarily die. As a martial artist, there's always a new form or a new forum of making martial art movies. It just depends on the timing. Timing is everything, and everything comes to the forefront. It's just a matter of time, and what goes around comes back around, and sometimes it takes someone who does something mega cool to have a resurgence. Now, why did I bring up resurgence? Because Taekwondo has recently been making a resurgence due to a lot of Taekwondo masters out here that are making Taekwondo a more popular art again. And Taekwondo is now running head-to-head with BJJ, for those who are not familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Taekwondo. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has been running the show for quite a few years now. Taekwondo has made a resurgence. Krav Maga is running in there. MMA is still running in there. But there are very few traditional Kung Fu schools at all. And there are very few traditional people still doing Wushu outside of tournament Wushu. But Taekwondo has made a resurgence. Moving on. As a martial artist and a movie, independent film, fighter, maker, stuff like that, you have to understand how fights work in real life before you actually can fight in a film. And the reason why I say that, there are a lot of actors who are legit martial artists, and there are a lot of actors who just know the choreography. Alright? Now, the guy that did Iron Eagle made a movie before Capoeira got really popular. It was something about combat dancing. I can't remember his name, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but he was the guy who played Doug from Iron Eagle, and I really like the guy. I just can't remember his damn name. I know I'm never going to work with him, but he made a movie about combat dancing, which kind of enforced people wanting to go learn capoeira because they learned about combat dancing. It came out not too long after Iron Eagle, and about the time that Breaking 2 or Beat Street came out. And why is that relevant to making movies and fighting? Is because in that movie there's a line that says, well, instead of fighting, we decided to do combat dancing, which is like break dancing and fighting all at the same time. And it was a pretty good movie. It's just a damn shame that I can't remember the name of the goddamn movie. If anybody knows the name of that movie, put in the comments so I can go find it and watch it again. But for all medicinal purposes, and for me, as a martial artist, learning martial arts at 7 and never stopping, it kind of hones in on who you are. But also being a street fighter before becoming a martial artist helps me out for fighting in the streets versus fighting in the dojo. I can lose the shit out of sparring matches. Period. I have lost a few sparring matches. Nothing major. There's just some new trick, somebody got lucky. Nothing that I couldn't recover from. I have never lost a street fight. Period. Unless you count all the times my big sister used to beat my ass. Now if you count all those times, I've lost a lot of street fights. But I'm also tough as nails because she used to drag me ass down the steps by my ankles a few times. Making sure that my head hits everyone. But and all the martial arts and street fighting in the world cannot prepare you for the fucking windmill. Just to get that out the way. I think if I ever make another movie, I want to see if a woman could do the windmill on screen. Just to see what that actually looks like on screen. Because you never really see the windmill unless you see like some of these videos. Moving on. So when you are fighting in the movies, you are making little to no contact. And most of your contact is camera angles. Alright? Camera angles are very important. This camera over here, if we're filming from the side, and it's only going to get a profile of my hands and my opponent's hands, we're in perfect harmony with it just to shoot our hands. Now, if it was actually on, it would be filming this whole thing because it's on widespread. so it can get everything. We don't want that, but it also depends on where the shot is. Also, if you're going to make movies, it pays to have more than one. So, I have 3 in which I film with. They are old, but they work. Charge them up the night before. You charge them up like the whole night before. Charge up everything, wake up, take the batteries off. You kind of want to charge them up. Like if you're going to film at 8 a.m., you want these things charged by midnight and ready to go first thing in the morning. I actually have 2 other cameras, but they couldn't be repaired. They're JVCs, they couldn't really be repaired. So my Canon and my other Canon and this, well hell, they're all Canons. Yeah, they're all Canons. I'll be damned. So that worked out. So all of my Canons versus my JVC, they all take these little tapes here, which I get a military discount at the UVA store, so I got a fuck ton of these tapes because I wanted to start bringing more movies to y'all. I just have to have more of a crew, more time. College has me up against the ropes right now, so that's a little bit of a problem. But I want to make movies for the rest of my life because it makes me happy. I don't really care if I don't get paid a lot, just enough to live off would be nice. But I'm not really trying to do it for anything other than making a living. But I want to do it because it makes me happy as well. I mean, I can't be happy cleaning toilets for the rest of my life. And whatever this degree is going to get me, when I'm most happy is when I'm in front of this camera. That is when I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. And also, Kung Fu has never let me down until I had the hip replacement, and I have been banned from doing martial arts by doctors for like the last 4 years. But once they cleared me to do jogging, I substituted jogging with martial arts. Remember, it took me a long time to be able to do a tornado kick with my left leg without feeling the strain on my knee and my hip. Now, there are some things I still can't do, and there are some things the doctor has told me that I should never, ever, 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 ever do again, which is wushu. So no excessive high flying. So tornado kick, great. Reverse tornado kick, they said don't do that. Aerial, where I do a tornado kick and I land on my thigh, this thigh, which is the one that was replaced, so there's a big metal shard in my leg, it's probably not a good idea to do that. However, I also have to take it easy on falls and impacts and shit like that. So yeah, I'm really limited on some of the things I can do physically now because of the hip replacement. However, the show must go on. Which is why when you see me working with the chain and my Scarlet Spider suit, things get caught up because my jumping ability, I have not jumped in 4 years. And they don't want me doing a lot of jumping and excessive physicality stuff. So like 45 to 75% of my arsenal that involved jumping and spinning and kicking is no longer available. Unless my life depends on it, which in case then I would reach the big old F the doctor. It's either do it or get killed, then I'm going to do it and see what the hell happens, Now, I have not been one of the people, did you go around seeing the hot dogs? And the reason why I call them hot dogs is the guy, like, if I'm throwing a foot sweep, and instead of doing something simple like a butterfly kick over my head or the half flip escape, where they add the extra, where they're like doing the whole 550 spin or the 360 spin or whatever the hell it is spin, when I'm just doing a simple foot sweep and they have to, like people who used to be in the Paul Mitchell team, they could just like go from the butterfly to the complete spin around, or the Mark Dacascos kick from Only the Strong, the final finale kick, the whole 360 or the whole 540 spinning kick. So, whatever the number is, he makes at least 2 or 3 rotations. I'm really bad with math, that's why I call it a 540. I'm pretty sure it's probably more than that. But, we're going to call it the 540 for the rest of the video. You're doing a 540 spin, and you step. It starts off as a butterfly kick. So you step and you swing, and then you just keep rotating, and then you kick. So, I've never been able to do that. I did it one time on accident in a swim pool in the backyard because it was one of those cheap-ass watery pools, and I slipped. That's how that worked. I've never been able to duplicate it ever again. But I could do the tornado kick easily now. Or hurricane kick if you took Kempo. So it just really depends. But now that the doctors have banned me from doing a lot of that shit, that's pretty much the gist of why all my moves are limited to the shit that you see me do. It's not that I don't have more moves, it's just that the doctor said, you should probably not do that. So I won't do that, just to be on the safe side. I mean, now, if there's a movie contract that signs where I have to do certain shit, we will have to go through the legalities of, hey, look, I got no health insurance. The military doctors are not going to pay to get this hip replaced again. They owe me this one, so we have to be exceptionally careful on what we do. But when you're making a movie, in the combat, you have to work with your partner. You have to make sure that you don't accidentally level the guy because you don't want to put anybody out of work. And you want to make the movie and complete the movie so then you can reap the benefits of watching what you've done. Now, if you're going old school or you're going to do matrix stuff and wire work, that's probably the easiest and the safest, so to speak. I've never done wire work. I've kept all our fights on the ground for the most of it. Maybe certain aerial locations like, okay, I need you to run across this wall really, really swiftly so we can get that shot. And we're only going to do that shot twice, just because I don't want to put the actor in any danger of falling off the fucking building or whatever the hell we're filming on. Because like I said, I don't have health insurance and I don't have enough money to pay for your health bills. And when you're making independent films, most of the actors are doing it because they love to make the movies and they're not getting paid, which kind of sucks. I have a whole bunch of scripts ready to go. I just don't have monetary to film in places that I would like to film the places. I don't have monetary to pay the actors that I need to pay. And if I could, you guys would already know who I am, and all of you fuckers would flock to Virginia to work with me or for me, because I got scripts that's ready. They're just straight ready. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but they're ready to go. I have scary skills. I have sci-fi, and mostly I have kung fu films, So I'm ready to go. And most of my scary and sci-fi films have elements of kung fu in them. And they were written mostly for me because I'm multicultural, so that there will be a hero like me who can look like me, so other people who look like me can have some representation. Because a lot of people give everybody flack about representation. Well, hell, I'm multicultural and we're rarely represented. Alright? Rarely. Now, if we are represented, we're not represented like in real life. Alright? My dad's dad was black. My dad looks black. His mom was Native American. All of his siblings all look more black than Native American. Now, when you look at me and you see my dad, you're like, okay, you look more Native American than your dad. Genes change generationally, just in case y'all did not know that. So when I write my characters, and up until I found out that Native Americans were Asian, I usually just kept going with my character being either black and Native American. When I found out that Native Americans were Asian, I started exploring more black and Chinese people and stuff like that. So when I wrote my first movie, which was Fallen Dragons, I made my character black, Native American, and Chinese. Alright, let me explain. My character's name is Brandon Lung, I think. I can't remember. But anyway, it was a long time ago. So I had a Chinese brother who was played by Adrian Cow. Thank you, brother. And we got to go at it. He only had one day, so we had to work all of his shit out together on that one day. Right? And in that film, Adrian Cow and I had the same father, who was a Chinese man. So Adrian Cow, his character was jealous of me, the kid that dad secretly had with a wife, because he was married on two different sides of the world, and it's never known if he married my mom first or Adrian's Cow mom, but he had both of us about the same time. It is never known which one of us is the older brother. I couldn't really decide that in the script. All I could describe was that the brother who the father spent the most time with in Asia was mad that I existed. Alright? So my character, my mother had a black mother, and her father was Native American while my father was Chinese. Alright? So the concept of that was simply because I found out from my Korean friend I had lost a bet, and I had to do all this research on Native Americans, and I was like, well, motherfucker, that explained everything. Because I didn't know Native Americans were Asian. I just thought we were from Atlantis. Found out the hard way that was not true, that Native Americans came across the land bridge, etc., etc. So when I wrote the script, Eric Chin was the main bad guy next to Jay Diz, and we couldn't get enough people. And this is the movie that I sent to a studio here in Virginia who did not make kung fu movies, who basically were lying sacks of crap. I forgive them, but I could have been rich and famous by now had they given me a job. But they really just didn't want to give the half-breed a job. That's pretty much how that is accepted. It's all good. I don't care. I hope they're doing well. Anyway, so the principle was the kids, me and like 6 or 7 other guys, for our parents to pay for our college, they volunteered to give our blood to the military. The military drained our blood and made JD's unit exceptionally youthful. In other words, it happened when we were younger. So Jay Diz's character, because he was so much younger than me, his character, they were basically immortal, but they were aging out, and they were dying, so they needed to get a cure. To get the cure, they had roughed up the mad scientists that gave them the cure, that made them super soldiers, so they had to go get all of our blood. They had to collect each and every one of us as we got older to remake the serum, okay? Now I've given you guys the plot, so don't make any movies about that or I'll sue the fuck out of you. And everybody who was in my film will also sue the fuck out of you. That would include the Bowie sisters, Adrian Kyle, Eric Chen, Lewis, whose name I can't pronounce, Bruce Johnson, and Philip, whose last name I can't pronounce because he was the only Filipino on set. Okay, so I named everybody that was in there. I didn't give a lot of the first names because I left the first names of the Bowie sisters off. But they were Vietnamese girls. But, you know, I had a lot of Asians. I couldn't get any bad guys. I couldn't get 7 bad guys to go with 7 good guys. I got 3 bad guys and like 5 or 7 good guys. If I ever find the movie and refix it, I will put it up here on this thing. So to the Bowie sisters and everyone I just named, forgive me for the epic fail. Still going at it. It's been 19 years. I'm still working strong. It's just not working out the way I would like it to work out. Anyway, I haven't quit. So while we were filming that, I had to make sure that Jay Diz did not kick the Bowie sisters. Okay? Now, the Bowie sisters were great martial artists, and they were from Springfield. I didn't know Virginia had a Springfield until I met them. Okay? So they were good. Adrian Kyle was good. Eric Chen was good. Philip was good. Lewis was good. I was great. There's a hair glitch because I had forgotten that I had short hair at certain parts of the film, and I have long hair at certain parts of the film. So for the majority of the film, unless you're paying attention to detail, you probably won't notice. But my hair was shorter than this. In some films, it was my post-apocalyptic haircut. And in other parts of the film, my hair was about this length, just a tiny bit shorter. It was a mop top, looking like Ron Mussow told me. Anyway, long story short, when we were making the fight scenes, you know, I preferred to have only martial artists because it's easier to teach martial artists how to act than it is to teach actors how to be martial artists. Y'all probably won't hear that a lot, and I probably just pissed off a whole lot of actors. But it's the truth. If you have a martial art background, it's a whole lot easier for me to teach you when to talk and how to talk versus me teaching you, an actor, how to do martial arts, and then it makes the martial artists have to work extra hard to make sure that they don't hurt the actor while we are filming. That way no one gets severely injured. Alright? So, you know, we worked everything out, and the story was really a simple story. You know, brother hates brother for existing, and you got these government veterans that are out to hunt down these civilians. They don't want to kill the kids, they just want their blood. And kids aren't so willing to volunteer blood to do the thing. The funny thing is that I was patient zero. So my blood was the catalyst, which is why it was all about my character getting the blood. Technically, he really didn't need the blood of others, but he was going to get it regardless, just to be on the safe side, and Jay Diz does catch the blood. By the end of the film, I voluntarily give my blood to him in the serum, and he goes off, and you never see him again. And in that mix, then I start chasing the mad scientists who gets away. I want to also put a thanks out to the University of Virginia for actually letting us film that in secret without them ever fucking knowing it, but now they do. But, you know, I never got to fight the main guy because when I talked to him, he didn't have martial arts skills, and he didn't think that he would be capable of doing that, and his name was Justin, so thank you, by the way. And, you know, it varied off, and it went fine, you know, and the only thing that happened was Sundance rejected it, and the studio here rejected it. But other than that, you know, when you're making a film, when you are fighting, you have to make sure that your choreographing works. You have to make sure that everyone is on point and that everyone does well. Then, since it was my first film, I didn't know a lot about camera angles, so some of the stuff looks fracked up. And that's all on me because I didn't know about camera angles. I was more worried about the acting, and because of scripts and improving, most of my scripts we write just for the story, and then we improv it because some of the things that I write don't translate on paper very well, or it translates on paper, it just doesn't translate out of the actor, because sometimes I was like, I probably really wouldn't say that. And the other thing about independent films, in mine at least, you get a say. You know, if you don't feel comfortable with certain things written, or you don't think you can pull off certain shit, you get a say. Because it's not just my baby, it's your baby while you're in it. Which also translated with Dragon's Breath. It also translated with The Path of Ascension. Because The Path of Ascension leads to Guardians of the Earth. Because in The Path of Ascension, J. Diz, Charles, and CLS and I, it was basically the three Billy Goats Gruff. Alright? Only in reverse. Alright? If you know the story of the three Billy Goats Gruff, the three Billy Goats Gruff were three goats trying to get across a bridge to get the grass on the other side. Alright? The troll stopped the little brother. The little brother went and got the medium brother. The medium brother went back, he got stopped. And then the big Billy Goat came and beat the fuck out the troll. So, henceforth, that idea was in my head, and I said, I can make a movie out of this and call it The Path of Ascension, or Ascension. I can't spell, so therefore. So I decided, okay, let's have a hero who has supernatural powers to control air. Now, let's have three guys who were descendants of guys, just like he was descendants of guys, come together and form a team. But to form a team, he has to ascend. So it's kind of game of death, three Billy Goats Gruff, but the troll is the hero. Alright? So me being the troll and the original badass, I decide we're going to film this at the Mount Ultra, and we're going to have 3 bridges, and I have to cross the 3 bridges because I'm fighting for leadership. Now, let me explain before you were like, okay, you just totally fucking went off on a different note. What happened was really simple. My father was the leader of their fathers. They have ascended, and so they needed a new group of heroes to take over their place. And since they have ascended, which basically means they didn't die, they just retired, and we're all superpowered humans. J. Diz was the flame, CLS was ice, and Charles was earth, so I was air. We had 5 elements, but we only needed 4 at the time. So water, fire, earth, and air. Those little Captain Planet mantras. I was air because without air you can't breathe. Without water you can't live. Without fire you can't collect warmth. And without earth in which you live, you needed those things. So we went out and we started to make this film. And in the film, the reason why I got the most screen time is because I couldn't convince them to show up to film. However, when we put it together, they somewhat liked it and said, there's not enough screen time of us. And I was like, well, that's kind of y'all fault because y'all would not show up to fucking film. And then I also had to go to Canada, which makes that part my fault because I couldn't take y'all to Canada with me because I wasn't paying for the trip. I was going to film people shoot ball in wheelchairs. So I filmed a lot of my shit in Canada. I filmed a lot of my shit down in Smithfield Nike Park. So a lot of my cutscenes for Path of Ascension is that. So then when we finally get to the fight scenes, I think I fought Charles first. And he was always difficult to get to film. So we filmed his stuff, and then after that, it was done. And then we went on and we filmed J. Diz's fight, and then we filmed CLS's fight. And then they got to jump me at the end, and I won leadership because basically they jumped me into the leadership role. And that's pretty much how the movie ends. It didn't really have a whole lot of plot because I couldn't get a lot of people to film, and I couldn't get people to come together to have a great story. So then I filmed, I had filmed Dragon's Breath first. Then I filmed The Path of Ascension. So then I was pretty much lost. And then I wanted to film again, and I started talking. I was like, so J. Diz, how you feel about making another film, dude? He's like, I like that last thing we did with the elements. I said, yeah, I did too, but I want to expand on that. He's like, cool. Let's talk to CLS. So we talked to CLS, and we talked to Charles, and then I said, well, we need a full-on story for the series. So we already knew how each other's bodies work for martial arts. And so we decided we're going to recruit some more people. In walk my savior, Courtney Monroe. In walk Trey and Rodney. Randy, Rodney, I'm sorry. I know your name at the moment. My head just went in different directions. So I decided that the Path of Ascension would spawn off into Guardians of the Earth, which we had Guardian powers, and then we needed Trey to be the fifth element, which would be steel. So now you have air, water, fire, earth, and steel. And technically, if you're steel, you pull steel from the earth, so you're just another earth elemental. We didn't go into too much detail because everybody had full-time jobs and they all had to work their jobs. Yeah, so we had to film it around. We made the film in, actually the series, we made the series in less than like maybe 3 months. Every weekend that everybody had off, we worked and we filmed, and we worked and we filmed. You know, and I was still working at Browns at the time, so I had money to feed people because it's cheaper to feed people than to pay people. So that was pretty much the deal. I'll feed y'all because I can't afford to pay you. You know, we all agreed on what we would eat and how we would get the food before we go film. So then after we would film, we'd either get lunch and go back to filming, or we'd eat after we filmed. We worked it out, and sometimes we would just bring a cooler, we'd have drinks, and we'd have whatever we needed. So then we would film. And everything was going great except for my heroes that I chose to save us. Alright? So I chose a dude that I have been teaching martial arts. His name is Dustin. Him and Charles refused to show up. That was glitch number one. Before I chose Dustin, I chose my nephew. I will leave his name off. But he started being a dick. I needed him at the time because he was a kid. I needed him. He was like 13 or 14. I was like, okay, we can make this and we can make it work because you're only going to have so many scenes as a kid. You know, you're not going to work that hard. You're only going to do this, this, and that. You're only going to have maybe 1 or 2 lines, and that shit went to hell in a handbasket. And instead of him just telling me no, he started treating me foul, started being a dick. And so then I replaced him with Dustin, which would have worked out just fine had they showed up more than one time to actually film. And this is the thing about independent films also. If you don't have people who are willing to show up so that you can make fights and go through it and important roles, that was like the second time that this has happened. I'll tell you the other part at the end of the video, because that was like Dragon's Breath, where the girl waited till we got ready to actually start rolling, where she quit the day before the day we were going to start filming. So that kind of sucked. But anyway, moving on. So we filmed in the backyard when the park had all the good stuff in it, and before somebody burnt down the dragon, you know, so we got good scenes. But then the next week came, and everybody showed up except for those 2 guys, which is kind of fucked up because they live in the same neighborhood. They're like right up the street, like maybe 70 steps, maybe. Okay, 70 giant steps. So they didn't show up. And it kind of got to the point where we're all putting in our time, and these guys are fucking up production because they just won't show the fuck up. We give them the time, and I gave them the rules. When we started filming, because they do extracurricular activities, I do not judge people. If you smoke weed, hey, knock yourself out. I don't touch drugs, period, and it'd have to be a hell of a migraine for me to touch any drugs. So we started working out fight scenes. Every day that we were filming, we got together, we worked out fight scenes. So when Saturday came, at 9 o'clock, you need to be at my door. No later than 10. We always set the clock for 9, but we didn't film until 10, 10:30, 11, and then we would film between 1 and 2. It just really depends on people's scheduling. And so when we're filming, we get to the park and we're chop socking it up. And the day that Charles showed up and that Dustin showed up, I had to film that with just them and Courtney and I. And that wound up becoming a dream scene and death scenes because they just would not come back. And so then the rest of us, the show must go on. They voted those 2 guys off. I stood against it, but I was majority versus the minority. I was the only one that was trying to stand up for the 2 guys that just would not fucking show up. I put way too much faith in them, so that shit got fucked up. And so we continued on. And everything was going great until my girlfriend broke my heart. My movie got stolen, and then everybody pretty much went their own way, and I went into the Army. So that's how that worked out. But, you know, that 10 years ago, this movie would have taken off, and it was supposed to launch my career, which is why I'm going to put it up here, hella high water, without the special effects. I just got to figure out how to get this computer to work with that hard drive, or I'm going to have to get that computer to do something and take it up to the university and get some fucking help. But it's ready to go. I just got to put the time in. School has me on the ropes. So that's what I'm doing right now. But, so we got there, we got all the fight scenes choreographed, we got all this effects that I could put in for the Fear Force and everything else. And
I do some talking like this because I did some voiceover for the dragon in the original, and I did voiceovers for this and the two statues. So one of the statues sounds like this,
and one of the statues sound like this. I hope you guys can differentiate the two of the sounds, because I had to work really hard to get that talking done, and then I had to edit it in between stuff. So basically what I did, I went to the park by myself and set the statues on the rocks, and I just talked as I put the camera on them. I stood behind the camera so you could hear everything. So that's kind of how it works. Basically, it would look like, damn, I'm tripping over another pair of clothing. So it would basically be like if this thing was in your face, and I would be talking like this, but you would never see me. You would just see this thing moving. And so there's a scene where Tay and I have a battle in the Fear Forest, and then I materialized the commas. So that was another problem because we weren't sure how much special effects we were going to need. So we incorporated plastic weapons, which worked out pretty good. So hopefully you guys will enjoy the 3 episodes that I have. Basically, it was 7 episodes, and because YouTube has certain policies of timing and stuff, because I don't think you can have more than 2 hours. So basically, it's 3 movies, because each episode was cut. The first episode was 45 minutes. So I have the first episode, then I have the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th episode, and then I have the 5th, 6th, and 7th episode. So we're going to get that shit up as soon as possible. I don't know when, but it's coming, so don't worry, it's definitely coming. But the bottom line is, when you make an independent film for you, it helps to have friends. It would help more if you had money. But choreographing the fight scenes so that no one gets hurt, you have to be able to operate, and it's a lot easier to teach martial artists how to act than it is to teach actors how to do martial arts. And I'm not trying to be a dick on full-on actors, because I am an actor, but I was a martial artist first and a street fighter before that. But the problem is that when you are teaching an actor how to act, it doesn't help if they're overly perfectionist, because once the camera rolls, your actor's going to be okay. But the martial artist has to worry about, is this actor's going to have the timing that he needs to not get hit? So if I'm throwing a really fast punch, will he be able to block and remember the choreographing? So it's block and elbow. So I'm throwing this punch, he's blocking, hitting here, he's elbowing, and then he's going to put me in a headlock and do a hip toss or a judo throw. So it really depends on who's training what. That being said, I want to thank you guys for watching. This is Kung Fu Havoc number 2. I will make more anthology movies about martial arts. So be seeing you. God damn, this is a long ass tape. It's 30-something minutes.